So, we just got finished talking about Tidal Music and Apple Music. But, on a more serious note, there's one thing that those two platforms can do. It can feed into this thing about elitism. And that's one of the things that's kind of bugging me recently is, yeah, our generation is doing great things regarding LGBTQ rights. Yeah, our generation is doing great things in regards to racism. Our generation is just doing pretty well towards gender equality and whatever gender means, whether it's performative and whether it's based on a person's sex and so forth. I think we're more open to that. But one thing our generation, I would say, and yes, I'm making huge generalizations, but this is also based on my observations, is that our generation does not want to talk about education. Everyone just assumes, not everyone, again, that's a generalization. Most people, in my experience, assumes that just because you're an educated person, you're an intelligent person. Those are two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone,
Completely different.
Anyone can read, anyone with a drive and a motivation can read a book, go by a certain set of rules, perform tests that was already figured out for them, and do those tests and get this piece of paper. Oh no, I'm in school too. I have student loans and everything else. Yes. But you have a whole group of people who have been forced and corralled, sometimes forced, sometimes coaxed into going to this higher institution to get this degree, which at this point in time doesn't mean, in DC, you have a degree doesn't mean shit. Your bartender most likely, after their shift, after happy hour, has a class they need to go to themselves, or already has a master's degree and they're working on a second master's degree. So everyone's going, oh, I'm educated. That's a problem. Once you become educated and you're no longer educating, you're an idiot. And you're an idiot not in the sense that you're stupid, but you're an idiot in the sense that you have these idiosyncrasies that you continue to propagate against other people, and to say that because I have this admission ticket, and my admission ticket comes from a more prestigious institution, whether that's PWI or HBCU, I have a right to say what it is I say against you. And that leads me to another problem. Is that most things, at this point I am pontificating, and if you don't like my register, the register befits the audience I'm speaking to. People have this thing about getting on Facebook and Twitter and everything else, and they pontificating, and they start talking about their ideas of social events. And when they get defensive, like, I have a degree. What the fuck does your degree mean? Like, you don't even understand what disobedience means, or civil disobedience. People look at me when I wear this shirt like, oh, you just a rebel. Like, you don't understand. They call me a rebel. They call me a rebel, but they don't speak a Camus. And again, bust down that line, you'll see what I mean. Call me a rebel, but you don't speak a Camus. To disobey, the first moment you disobey something or someone is when you begin to question them. Because obedience doesn't call for any of those things. But disobedience causes you to question. And again, someone like, well, why is this important? Why should I keep watching this video? What's important about it, and why it matters, is that every single great atrocity that ever faced mankind was not done by the poor and not done by the ignorant. It was done by the wealthy, the powerful, and the so-called educated. So if you want to have this bias against people who are, quote-unquote, not educated or hold a degree, which is tied into socioeconomics because people can't necessarily afford it or want to be in the pitfall of the new bubble, the private students' loan bubble, then you don't necessarily understand the fact that you going around saying, I have this degree, it's a logical fallacy. Experts aren't always right. And most time, experts are less. Keep on this. What you don't understand what's important is that along with these shifts that are going back and forth, where you have this shift with the job market most in the United States has become more egalitarian and so forth, you don't understand how that affects your marriage life. Because not everyone is going to be able to be in a relationship with someone who has a degree, they have a degree, they both have degrees. Not everyone is going to, which can lead to abusive relationships. If one feel like they have more power than the other, and they begin to push that power, use that power against the other person. Not everyone is going to be in a position in which their degree allows them to go into their field. So again, if you go back and you have this whole ideology that because you're educated, that it means that you have more right to say what it is that you want to say, then you're doing no different from the racists who say because I'm white or because I'm not black, I have more right to say what it is I want to say. Then you're no different than this generation that we say is so horrible. No different. Elitism, I feel like, is the problem. Elitism is the problem. It really is. Then education is highly political.
Education is highly political. I'm mad that I agree with you because I can't dispute and argue. But the thing about education is most people don't know the Merriam-Webster definition of education and what it is to be educated. They don't understand the psychological ties that go along with being educated. They don't understand what it means to relegate yourself to a certain set of principles.
True.
And I don't like saying it's not what people understand because, like you said, once again, that's a blatant statement. But I only say that because we continue to reiterate the very things that we complain about. You know what I'm saying? So it goes into you're educated, but you don't understand that being educated means you have received some sort of indoctrination. And receiving some sort of indoctrination means that you have to get re-educated on every field and every arena that you re-enter to that isn't the one that you've already been previously educated on. Exactly. For example, we are educated as Americans, right? Mm-hmm. Highly astute. You can get a PhD in America right now. You go to an Asian culture, you go to Germany, you go to another sovereign body of people, you are no longer educated. Because why? Their stories are different. Their literature is different. Everything is different in how they have came about to what they know and what they understand. So it goes into people holding this status because that's all it really is.
It's a status thing.
It's really a battle of status, and I have it, you don't. And like you said, it's more about economics and me being able to say, look here, I've done this, you haven't. But it doesn't necessarily hold any weight in the reality of being knowledgeable as a person and being able to discern. Because
I agree.
One thing I hate is fucking sight check. Nigga.
I don't know what that is.
I'm about to tell you what a fucking sight check is, right? You know what it is. Sight check is when a motherfucker say, you explaining something, you going in and you giving the rhetoric on what it is that you giving, and a person says, well, where did you get that from? Or what source? Not understanding the source that you got that from is bias in itself. The source that you got that from is a source that has some type of agenda. Whether or not it may be malicious or not, you got to understand, if I relegate that that's what the source is, I have come to that on my opinion and my analysis. For example, people talk about scholars all day, every day. People talk about, oh my God, this is what it is and this is what it ain't. This is factual, this is not factual. Go to your articles. Go to all the stuff that really matters. Was the world not once flat?
Well, flat and crowded is right there.
Was scholars not the ones who said that the world was flat?
But that,
hold on,
yeah, they
hold
were.
on.
But
hold on. Was it not scholars who said that Pluto was a planet?
Yeah.
Was it?
But
Were
those are two
were
different things,
those?
though. But
No.
those are two separate things. And I'll
Were
break that
those
down
not
later.
facts?
They
Were
were
those
facts.
not considered facts?
They
at
were
the time?
facts, but they were considered facts at the time. But I'll break down the differences
They were
between
considered-
those.
So
The
my
differences.
point is, they were considered facts at the
Yeah.
time, but it was also scholars and people who died that said that the world isn't flat.
Yeah.
Pluto isn't a planet. So that mispresumption that facts do change and that everything that is traced to a credible source doesn't necessarily mean that it's credible information. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's right.
I get what you're saying. You're talking about the difference between science and humanities. Now, the thing about the scholars who said the world was flat, that's political. And in the same way as the scholars who said, that's why Socrates died, it was political. It was a
agree.
political thing. And those are the ones who said the world is flat and wanted to remain flat. That's a political part about scholarship and education that has carried over. But the thing about the saying that the world, that the Pluto was a planet, that's not because of politics. That's because of the limitation of the technology at the time. So those scholars who said that Pluto was actually a planet, they were working with the best information that they had at the time. And then the other scholars who came back and said, well, Pluto is actually not a planet, it's something else. I can't remember what it was, what they demoted its status to. That's because time simply elapsed, they got more knowledge.
And I agree.
But the problem I have is with the former. It's the ones who say, no, the world is heliocentric, meaning, no, I'm not even going to explain it. If you got a degree and you're watching this, you should be able to know what heliocentric means. Heliocentric, which is, I don't want to say terracentric, because terra means earth, versus the earth being in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who were killed because of that. And that's what's going on now. You have people who are literally suffering career persecutions because they don't necessarily agree with the body of politics that people are saying. Like, you can't teach evolution in certain cities. Not even as a concurrent, not even concurrent, but as an alternative theory to how the world came about. And people are like, well, what are you educating a whole population of people who have no clue that the Big Bang existed or is a potential theory for how things come to exist.
And see, I don't agree with the Big Bang Theory.
I agree with the Big Bang Theory because for me, it fits my criteria as a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
It is still, plenty of scientists debate the Big Bang Theory, but that's the thing that science does that other people don't want to do. A challenge, and not only that, have a dialogue amongst the intelligentsia. People talk about intelligentsia, it doesn't exist. I don't care what any university tells you at this point in time. Intelligentsias don't exist. The way these universities get their money, they get their money through donors, who are big business people. They get their money through think tanks, who are often backed by big business people. They get their money from alumni, who sometimes are business people, but it's also to propagate a single set of body of ideals. HBCUs is typically respectability politics. Look at Morehouse or the Spelman. It's more about how you act as a black person than dictates whether or not you get allowed into the school and whether you get supported by that university. At other universities, it's more about what ideas are you putting out there that can change the population. And the problem, and people are like, why are you so agitated? Why is it bugging you so? It bugs me so because you can't have a genuine discourse with people without people saying, well, that's my opinion. You are not allowed to have just an opinion when what you're saying affects other people's lives. You're not.